Hello everyone, George DeSantis here with the look at the market for the week ending Friday, January 25th, 2019. And before we do anything else, let's look at the disclaimer. And I usually remind you that I'm not a professional investment advisor. So if you need professional investment advice, you should seek someone who is that qualified. I'm a psychologist who trades for himself and does a video in order to orient his thinking, my thinking about the market for the coming weeks. And I put it on YouTube, and those who care to look at it can do so. By no means am I attempting to give any particular person advice here. Now, especially for those who are new to this, let me just give you the structure. The basic structure of this video is that I will discuss the S&P, which is a look at the general market. On the weekly and daily charts. We usually don't look at the monthly chart every week because it doesn't change that much. And then we take a look at some individual stocks and see what we can find. So this is a weekly chart of the S&P 500. And you can see there was this line, support resistance line here at about 2600. We broke above it and we're bumping up against the 50 week in this case moving average and the 30 weighted moving average. So you see you have some resistance here, and hence we got this far, and last week we just sort of closed even for the week. So we're close to that 2700 now. We need to break above that in order to get any further momentum going up here. Now, if we look at the Bollinger Bands, we are far away from the Bollinger Band, the upper Bollinger Band, so we have a lot of room to run on the upside. Now, if you look at the moving averages, we have the 4 crossing over the 9, and that's encouraging from a bullish standpoint. We do have a doji here, so it could go either way. It's a candlestick that indicates indecision. And so it could go either way from here. We can go up or down, you know. MACD histogram is trending up still, so that's bullish. Williams percentile is now slightly above this magenta line, and that's bullish. We like to see that when Williams percentile is above the magenta line, 50% line. Usually that's a time when the market is moving to the upside. Now below that we have the sum of the rate of change indicator. It's still below 4%, but it looks as though it's trending in the direction to break above it soon. RSI 12 is now above 40%, which typically indicates the beginning of a nice new uptrend. So basically the weekly chart is looking pretty bullish. The monthly chart hasn't changed much at all because it's a slow moving chart. Each bar is a whole month's data. So let's take a look now at the daily chart. On the daily chart, first thing we might notice is that the 4 EMA, exponential moving average, the yellow line, is above the 9, which is the red line. They're a little clustered here, but maybe you could see it a little better if I did this. See? So you see the 4 is above the 9 is above the 50-day moving average, and that is above the 30 weighted moving average. So I typically use the 4, the 9, and the 30. And you can see that those lines are continuing to remain above each other. The shorter moving average is above the longer ones, the 4, the 9, the 30, and then we have the 50, which is here in the magenta line. So the daily chart is also looking bullish. We're not bumping up against the upper Bollinger Band yet, so we have a little ways to run before we might think that this thing is quite overbought rather. So on the other indicators, MACD is still above the 0 line, which is bullish. You can see Williams percentile above the 50% line, or minus 50%. This is an inverted indicator. The minus numbers are above 50, and you could see the minus hundreds here, right? Some of the rate of change indicator is now trending up above 4%, so that's bullish. RSI 12 continues above 60%. So bottom line, the weekly chart is looking bullish and the daily chart is looking bullish. We need to break above what we saw, that resistance level at around 2700, which we saw on the weekly chart, in order to have a lot more confidence. And we'll take a look at some individual stocks now. So here's some individual stocks. I'm going to take it from the list that I sent you some time ago. And here's the first one, Etsy. You can see the 4 is above 9, 9 above 30, 30 above 50. We have an uptrend. We're far away from the upper Bollinger Band, so we have some room on the upside. MACD histogram is bullish above the 0 line. And look at Williams percent R above the 50% line. And likewise, the sum of the rate of change indicator, except for RSI 12, RSI 12 has dipped to below 60. But this is a bullish chart. Here's Etsy on the Shaking Analytics software. They gave me permission to use it here. One of the things that I'm noticing here is a couple of things. First of all, we have this symmetrical triangle. See, if you drew a line here and draw a line here, you have a symmetrical triangle. We're likely to break to the upside because we've had an uptrend before the symmetrical triangle was formed. You can see that the money flow is high. It was overbought and it's coming down a little bit. You can see that relative strength is strong and it's having a neutral rating. The yellow means neutral rating on the shaken power gauge. If you look at the Ichimoku cloud, you can see that Etsy's above the cloud. You can see the bars are above the cloud. So that's bullish. Here's Salesforce, CRM. Salesforce, 4 above 9, 9 above 30, 30 above 50. We have an uptrend. This is a 200-day moving average. MACD has been trending down a bit, but there is no divergence. So, there's no risk here that we are going to pull back suddenly. In fact, on Friday, we had a nice move here, $2.87. Other indicators, Williams percent R above 50. You can see all these indicators are in bullish territory. I'm going to move around quickly so we could get as many stocks in. But this is a bullish chart. Here's Salesforce on the Shaken Analytics software. You can see that price is holding nicely above this long-term trend line, this yellowish line here. It became a bit overbought here. We saw that last week. It was overbought. So it pulled back a little bit, and now it seems that it had a nice move on Friday. It was up, $2.87, I said earlier. Now, the other thing is it's in a strong industry, and the trend is strong. Look at these other indicators. Of course, because it was overbought, this indicator is now becoming oversold. Okay? Now, money flow is strong. We can see that the relative strength is strong, and we can see that Shaken is bullish. So we have a nice bullish shot. I own this and I own Etsy. Here's Workday's daily chart. Uptrend, 4 above 9, 9 above 30, and that above the 50, etc. So we have a nice uptrend here. I own this again. Now the other indicators, we can see MACD just went above the 0 line back here, and it's remained there. Williams percent R on the, it's above 50%. I like that, bullish. Sum of the rate of change indicator above 4, and RSI 12 looking strong. So I have this and I like it. Here's the Shaken Analytic chart on Workday. You can see that it pulled back to the long-term moving average. It's somewhat like a 200-day, but it's proprietary to Shaken. So we don't know how they computed this line here, but it's a long-term trend line. We usually want to be owning stocks when the price is above this trend line, not when it's below it, for the most part. So it's in a strong industry, a strong trend. It's neutral. It has a neutral rating. You could see it's a yellow bar. Money flow is pretty good. It's becoming oversold again. It was very overbought, and it's becoming oversold by, this is again a proprietary indicator for Shaken. It is not your typical overbought, oversold RSI or whatever. And you can see the relative strength is pretty strong. So I own this, and as I said before. Here's Viva. You can see it had a pretty nice uptrend here. I don't own it. I wish I did. But it's got a real nice uptrend. You can see how the alligator's mouth is open, 4 above the 9, 9 above 30, 30 above 50. And it seems like it's running, it's got some more room to run. It's one of those IBD 50 stocks, you know. So that's Viva. Here's the shaking chart on Viva. You can see that it broke above that long-term trend line recently, and it's closing at a new high. And that's pretty bullish, but it may pull back a bit here to give a better buying opportunity. As I said, I don't own it here. But look at the money flow. It's very strong. It's been overbought. It is overbought. You want to be buying it when the overbought, oversold indicator is down here. That's your best chance for a gain. Now look at the money, look at the relative strength. It's strong and it's neutral. So it's something we want to keep an eye on. The next one is PayPal. I like this one very much. I use PayPal myself to buy stuff on the internet or whatever. You can see 4 above 9, 9 above 30, above 50, and so on. So the shorter averages are above the longer average, moving averages. Very nice uptrend. Coming up to the upper Bollinger Band, 2 standard deviations. So we might see a little bit of a pullback. If you don't own it here, I do. But if you don't own it here, you want to be buying it somewhere between the 9 and the 30 if it gets there. Let's look at the shaken chart. On the shaken analytics chart, you can see that it's now bumping up that against that overbought line up here. But it's above the long-term trend line, see? And strong trend, strong industry with a neutral rating. That's great. Money flow, good. It's becoming oversold here. And you can see that the relative strength is strong and it's neutral. Here's Adobe. I own it again. You can see that the 4 is above 9, 9 above 30, and above the 50-day moving average. It's been in a consolidation period here, but I'm owning this. I'm going to keep it. Nice uptrend. MACD is bullish, and these other indicators, you can see they're all in bullish territory. Here's Adobe's chart on shaken analytics, and you can see that this one is below the long-term average, but it's working its way up. Money flow is good, so you know institutions are buying it. It was overbought, and now it's becoming oversold, and the relative strength is pretty strong. It's neutral, so it's buyable. I own it, as I said. Here's Innoviva. INVA is the symbol, biotech company. You can see that it had a nice rally against the upper Bollinger Band, as we often see. When it hits the upper Bollinger Band, we get consolidation. Looks as though it's edging up again. Looks as though it's want to go up again. MACD is in bullish territory, and these other indicators likewise. So to save time, I'm going to move. You can see that Inviva is rated bullish, first of all, on the shaken power gauge. It's green, right? You can see that it's above the long-term average. This is a nice uptrend. It's a bit overbought, or it was overbought. It's becoming oversold. So this is becoming interesting here as a possible buying opportunity. The relative strength is strong and it's bullish. So keep it on the list. Here's another company. It's a software company. The symbol is AYX, Terex Incorporated. Had a nice trend, a nice uptrend like some of the others we saw. It hit the upper Bollinger Band, consolidated, seemed to be moving up again. Is now in the buy zone between the 9 and the 30. And these other indicators looking pretty bullish. I don't own this one. I'm going to call it quits here. We only have about 15 minutes for this, and I hope you have a good weekend. If you like tennis, I don't know if they're going to replay the Australian Open final, but boy, was that a great match with Djokovic and Nadal. So we'll try and do this again next weekend. Have a good week.